Hello, welcome to HITC Sport. Right, let's take a look at the last goalkeeping howler your club fell victim to. You know, the type of goalkeeping mess that made you probably want to rip your own nose clean off your face in disgust. Right, let's go. Arsenal, Runar versus Man City. Most people have had a pretty low-key Christmas this year, right? I'm guessing Alex Runarson's Christmas turkey was utterly soaked in tears. The 25-year-old Icelandic lad is probably this close to selling his goalkeeper gloves on eBay and applying for a job down the bank. He made two mistakes in last week's 4-1 thumping at home to Man City in the EFL Cup. One was how he somehow let this tame free kick from Riyad Mahrez squeak through his gloves and wind up in the back of the net. How? Just how? Were his gloves made of marmalade? That's the face of a guy who knows within 12 hours he's gonna have to delete his Twitter account. Aston Villa, Pepe Reina versus Leicester. Listen, Pepe Reina did well at Villa Park last season. The guy is nearly as old as time itself, but still kept goal to keep the club away from relegation. But the game at Leicester City in February though, oh, it was even more embarrassing than the time he conceded a goal to a goddamn balloon. It's 0-0. Villa have obviously been told to try and sit in and nick a point. And then after 10 minutes, he has a rush of blood to the face, races out of his damn box, actually trying to beat Harvey Barnes for pace, clearly forgetting that he's actually nearly a 40-year-old man with a dodgy back. I might understand if he was one-on-one with Barnes, but there's three other defenders back there. How has he nearly ended up in the halfway line, leaving his goalmouth more exposed than a toddler than Everton Wrench? Brighton, Matt Ryan versus Chelsea. Suddenly, Matt Ryan finds himself out in the cold at Brighton this season, but to be fair, this one wasn't great. Opening day of the season, Chelsea went 3-1 at Brighton in the Joe Weller derby, but Christ above, dragging down Timo Werner for the opening penalty. No wonder Graham Potter no longer rates him. Burnley, Nick Pope versus Newcastle. Do you remember when Gareth Southgate said that Jordan Pickford had no real competition for his England place? It's performances like these which sort of back up his claims. Burnley travelled to St James's Park in October, lost 3-1, with Nick Pope playing the full 90 minutes as if he were possessed by a paraplegic ghost. Southgate likes his keepers to use their feet, right? Well, here's Pope being tasked with a pretty routine, easy back pass, and then he shows a first touch that might belong in a sidemen charity match. It bobbles off his shin. The panicky Pope drags down Ryan Fraser for a penalty that Callum Wilson converted. Awful. Chelsea, Edouard Mendy versus Everton. Listen, Edouard Mendy has been pretty solid so far this season. A breath of fresh air from the Spanish comedy act that was Kepa Arrizabalaga. A guy so error prone he might as well join the circus and get pie chucked in his face for a living. But still, Mendy's had his moments, like at Goodison Park where Dominic Calvert-Lewin outjumps Thiago Silva in the box, but it's okay, he's going nowhere. He's halfway towards the corner flag and engulfed in defenders. So why on earth did Mendy think it was appropriate to jump into him? Oh yeah, that's a good tackle. Stick your knee into his bowels. Sure, okay, there was probably blood in Calvert-Lewin's stool after the match, but still, it was always going to be a penalty. Penalty was given, Gylfi Sigurdsson converts, and Chelsea lose the match. Crystal Palace, Vicente Guaita versus Tottenham. Okay, to be fair, Vicente Guaita was man of the match against Spurs 2 weeks ago. He pulled off some world-class saves to earn Crystal Palace a point. But still, don't forget for the Tottenham goal, he was like the goalkeeping version of wet cow piss. Harry Kane takes a speculative shot from 30 yards. Sure, there was a slight bit of movement on the ball, but I don't care. It's going straight down the middle of the goal. You should save this with your eyes closed. But instead, he shows the ankle flexibility of Stephen Hawking and completely collapses to the floor with his fingers tickling the ball as it winds up on the net. Everton, Jordan Pickford versus Brighton. Where do you want to start with Jordan Pickford? I suppose let's go for the home game against Brighton in October. Sure, Everton still won 4-2, so who really cares? But still, in the first half, Solly March hits the ball into the ground, it loops up, Pickford catches it, but then he drops the ball and Neil Maupay scores an equaliser. Fulham, Marek Rodak versus Arsenal. Marek Rodak lost his place at Fulham for performances just like this. Remember the opening day of the season when Arsenal actually looked half decent scoring 3 of Craven Cottage? Anyway, for the first goal, Rodak makes a complete mess of smothering the ball at Willian's feet, allowing it to impotently roll for Alexander Lacazette to tap into an empty net. Leeds, Ilhan Meslier versus Crystal Palace. To be fair, Ilhan Meslier has been relatively error-free this season, but still, conceding 4 goals at Sellers Park, it wasn't just an afternoon to forget, it was an afternoon that probably needed 3 hours of counselling with his feet on the couch. For a 20-year-old child, it's these sort of games which might have melted his confidence. Like in the second half, when Patrick Van Aanholt fizzes in a low cross to nobody. Most human goalkeepers with a beating pulse and 2 working feet would not be beaten at their near post like this. But Meslier, he's about as flat-footed as a sycamore tree. Leicester, Kasper Schmeichel versus Man United. If there's one team Kasper Schmeichel wants to play well against, it's Man United. It's a place where his dad is a legend, a place where he first touched the Premier League trophy. Oh yeah, and as a former Man City employee, how many times do you think United fans have tried to say that he doesn't even have 1/8 the talent of his dad? Christ above, some United fans probably said his dad might as well have spat him into a Kleenex instead. So unfortunately for Schmeichel, he wasn't actually able to ram the words down his critic's throat in July in that all-or-nothing Champions League playoff against Man United. Leicester are 1-0 down in the last minute. He receives a back pass ready to hoof the ball up the pitch, ready to start another attack. Yes, Jesse Lingard closed him down, and I realise that in itself, for a top-class Premier League winning goalkeeper, it's about as threatening as Conor McGregor being challenged to a fight by some internet millennial. Yes, Lingard has the footballing ability of a half-eaten Milky Way, but still, you are a goalkeeper. Do not try and dribble past him, no matter how bad he is. Schmeichel loses the ball, Lingard rolls into an empty net. Just embarrassing. embarrassing. Liverpool Adrian versus Aston Villa. This was the game which ended Adrian's Liverpool career, banishing him back into the wilderness to the point where he's now third choice goalie, being pipped to the bench by some kid from Cork. Conceding 7 at Villa Park is embarrassing in itself, but he got off to a nightmare start, rolling a sloppy back pass to absolutely nobody after 90 seconds. Jack Grealish collects it, rolls to an unmarked Ollie Watkins who slams home. Oh god, I can almost guarantee you Jurgen Klopp probably had to stop himself from following Adrian home that night and burning down his house. Man City Ederson versus Leeds. Listen, Ederson doesn't make too many mistakes for Man City, but this was a definite blunder that cost his team 2 points. 1-0 up against Leeds at Ellen Road. You know, against a team that their city rivals could have put 12 past last week. Anyway, Leeds whip in a corner, Ederson flaps on the cross, and look at that. 10 actual footballers closer to his goal line than the goddamn goalkeeper. If that was his attempt at protecting his goal, oh, it's like a babysitter sticking the toddler in an oven and still expecting her 20 quid. Rodrigo rolls in the goal, easy. Man United, Dean Henderson versus Sheffield United. Imagine you're Dean Henderson. You've waited nearly 10 years for this one opportunity to make your Premier League debut for Man United. I bet he didn't plan it to go like this though. After 2 minutes of Bramall Lane, he receives a back pass from Harry Maguire. He takes about an hour to get the ball under his feet. He's closed down by a Sheffield United player, allowing David McGoldrick to tap into an empty net. Newcastle, Mark Gillespie versus Newport County. Let's be honest, Newcastle did not deserve to go any further than the EFL Cup quarterfinals this season. Apart from scoring 7 against Morecambe, they were utterly unconvincing all tournament long. Like when they scraped through on penalties against Newport County, going 1-0 down at Rodney Parade after Tristan Abraham sidefoots a pretty tame volley from outside the box, which Mark Gillespie should parry away with no problem. But then we remember, this is a goalkeeper signed on a free from Motherwell, so obviously he then shows the wrist strength of a Toblerone. Just woeful. Sheffield United, Aaron Ramsdale versus Man United. Aaron Ramsdale has had a pretty tough return to Bramall Lane this season. Here, Paul Pogba lofts the ball into the box. Anthony Martial beats the offside trap. Ramsdale makes himself look like a starfish, but completely misses the ball, allowing the Frenchman to tap into an empty net. I'm no professional goalie, so taking tips from me is probably about as sensible as sticking your cat in a microwave. But still, surely you should have showed him down the line, not collapsed like a pregnant cow. Southampton, Alex McCarthy versus Arsenal. Look, Alex McCarthy has done well for Southampton over the last year, ever since Angus Gunn was probably locked in a septic tank after that 9-0 defeat. But 6 months ago, the Gunners won 2-0 at St Mary's, with McCarthy making a mess of the opener. Just like Schmeichel, he's been given a routine back pass, instead lazily kicks it off Eddie Nketiah, who runs through to stick into an empty net. Just shocking. Tottenham, Joe Hart versus LASK. Yeah, Joe Hart's been barely given a sniff at Tottenham, and yet still, of course he crawls his way into this list. Mistakes that become synonymous with this man's existence, to the point where I wouldn't be surprised if he has 6 unplanned children waiting for him at home. In Tottenham's 3-3 draw at LASK in the Europa League, he was majorly at fault for their second goal. This shot should never go in. It's his near post. You're a Premier League champion with over 80 caps. Just stick out a strong arm. He did, but it bounced off his arm, as if his wrists were made of tinfoil, and it winds up in the back of the net. Good Christ, Joe Hart. West Brom, Sam Johnstone versus nobody. No, Sam Johnstone is the perfect goalkeeping entity in the sport of football. The guy just doesn't do errors, no mistakes, nothing. Moving on, West Ham, Lucas Fabianski versus Liverpool. Yeah, let's go back to February of this year when Liverpool first showed signs of complacency and sloppiness, which would dog their game for about 6 months, ending up with a 7-2 nadir of embarrassment at Villa Park. Here they found themselves 2-1 down at home to West Ham, and then stepped forward Lucas Fabianski. Mo Salah hits the tamest of shots, it squirms through the pole's legs, before Liverpool go on to snatch the win after another rush of blood to the head. Just a nightmare. Wolves, Rui Patricio versus Newcastle. Maybe I'm harsh, but I think Jacob Murphy's stoppage time equaliser for Newcastle at Molyneux this season should have been saved. Rui Patricio was a top goalie with bags of experience, but come on, it's your side of the goal, it's slow to the ground, and with not much pace on the ball. This was made to look like a Beckham-esque free kick, but I'm sorry lads, a Portuguese international goalie with over 100 caps should be saving this blindfolded. Anyway, that's the end of it. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and as always, we'll talk to you in a while.